What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday. We're going to talk about Ed Sheeran's lawsuit today. We're going to learn something about music today. First thing I want to do is I'm actually looking for somebody that is, I'm posting a job on my website for somebody that is a video editor / videographer in this area or willing to move down here. If you go to rickbeato.com/jobs, you can apply for that, fill out the application. And I'm way behind with my editing, and I'm trying to find somebody that has more expertise in that area that can help out. Also, the Beato bundle I'm extending again here for $99, and we'll talk about that here during this. But Beato bundle, my ultimate bundle, is 77% off, so it's $99 for all 4 of my courses. My Beato Book Interactive, which we're going to be using today in here. So we're going to do some music theory along with talking about Ed Sheeran and why he won the case and how it's related to this, because there's a lot of music theory involved in the lawsuit, and including Ed demonstrating this. So my Beato book is a music theory interactive course with video. It's got hundreds of audio examples in it. It has dozens of video lectures to clarify important music theory topics, and it's got 500 pages of textbook instruction within the website. My ear training program, because we're going to talk about that too today, has 80 video lessons and hundreds of interactive training modules, and it has a 28 page PDF. And then there's my Beato Beginner Guitar course. For those of you who don't play anything and you want to learn how to play from scratch, you can learn that. And then my Quick Lessons Pro is for more advanced guitar players. But those are all together for $99. A lot of people sell their courses for $150 for one. I sell all mine for $99 right now, at least for the time being. Okay. One thing I want to talk about this, that in my videos that I made on the lawsuit, I didn't make it clear that the actual, so it was Ed Sheeran versus Ed Townsend. Okay, so this is, Ed Townsend was the co-writer. His family or descendants of him are the ones that brought on the case, not Marvin Gaye's family. And I think that that's something that was missed through all the media stuff. And frankly, on my thing, I didn't say that it was. I just said, talk about the song, Let's Get It On, without saying who actually brought the lawsuit and implying that it was Marvin Gaye's family. Like in Blurred Lines, it's not the case. So it was the co-writer of the song that brought the lawsuit against Thinking Out Loud. Okay, just wanted to say that up front. All right, so let's talk about this. So why were the two songs different? Like, what did this hinge on? Well, Ed came in and played them he played his tune in chord, apparently. So if I transpose them both to the key of D, so the Ed Sheeran song is D over F sharp, G. That's the main verse part. Now the Marvin Gaye song is really D. It's actually up a half step, so it's all in E flat. But if I play it in D, F sharp minor, G, A, and you're like, well, that doesn't sound that different. It is different though, right? But the other thing is that Ed Sheeran's chorus is like, right? So it goes somewhere completely different. Then the third time, and it goes back into the verse. Okay, so it has a chorus on it. So the songs are different that way. But the main difference is it has a completely different melody and completely different lyrics. And that's what songs should be, right? You can't copyright a chord progression. At least that has been finally tested now, and Ed won. And he should have won. But I said, in my videos, I'm like, do the songs sound the same? Yeah, the grooves, they're the same tempos and everything. It's kind of the same chord progression, but the songs are not the same. So he should have won this, but I said it all depends on whether you can convince a jury of it. So obviously the people that he had working for him did better than the people that Robin Thicke with the Blurred Lines and Pharrell than the people that they had working. They must have hired a different musicologists to compare the songs, right? They should never have won. That song was not even close, I didn't think. But like I said, what can you convince a jury of? Because that's really the only thing that matters. Okay, but what does this really mean? I'm going to bring up this here. Let me bring up my little notepad, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about AI as well. Okay, so this is the Ed Sheeran song. Here's the differences. If we talk about the chord progressions between the two. So you're in the key of D. This is how we analyze music here. We'll use Roman numerals, but this is all in my Beato book. And it's in my ear training course, both of these things. So it teaches you how to hear these things. This is the one chord. This next thing is also the one chord. D over F sharp is just D with an F sharp in the bass, okay? That's still the one chord. Then you go to the G, which is the 4 chord in the key of D, and A is the 5 chord. Okay, so it's a 1, 4, 5, like a blues would be. The D over F sharp is a first inversion D major chord. So it's 2 bars of D. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you count it, dun, duh, then it'd be 2 chords per bar. The chorus, though, then goes to E minor, which is the 2 chord. Write it down here, the 2 chord in the key of D. I use a lowercase Roman numeral for that. Then it goes to the 5 chord to the 1 chord, 2, 5, 1. It's like the most common chord progression in jazz. The third, it does that 2 times, and then the third time around it goes to the 2 chord. You guys love this, right? This is like my old whiteboard lectures, but this is actually easier to use. And then it goes to the 5 chord, and then it goes to the 6 chord. B minor is the 6 chord in the key of D. Then it goes to E minor the last time around to 5 sus 4, sus 4 to the 5. Okay, sus 4 is this. That's an A suspended 4. It's just a variation of an A major chord. Okay, suspended 4th, or sus 4. The Marvin Gaye song. So if I let's get it on. If I write that verse, let's see how it differs here. So go down here, and I'll go D. Then we go F sharp minor, G, A. Now, once again, it's not in that key. It's a half step up, but just for sake of showing this. So it's the 1 chord. F sharp minor then is, for those of you that know about chords in a major key, okay, so in the key of D major, if you count from the note D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, those are the 7 notes. Okay, so each of those notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, every note in a D major scale has a chord that belongs with it. Those are what we call the diatonic chords. So the F sharp minor is the 3 chord, the G major is the 4 chord, and the A major is the 5 chord. So you can see they're different. The D, but they're subtly different. D over F sharp is this. F sharp minor is this. So D with an F sharp in the bass, or F sharp minor. But the melodies are completely different. Now, why does Ed Sheeran, one of the questions people should ask maybe is, why does Ed Sheeran get in these lawsuits like this? Well, why do pop songs sound alike? Because they use the same elements. They use the same kind of chord progressions. This is a completely diatonic. I'll write that down here. So diatonic, meaning basically means it's in 1 key. Now, all this stuff is in my Beato book, okay? So the diatonic chords in the key of D, let me actually make my eraser a little bit bigger. There we go. So if you take the key of D and you say, what are the diatonic chords in the key of D? Well, the 1 chord is D major. D major is the 1 chord. Okay. E minor is the 2 chord. You use a lowercase Roman numeral. F sharp minor, as we just talked about, is the 3 chord. So use lowercase Roman numeral. That's a lowercase 3. G major is the 4 chord. A major is the 5 chord. B minor is the 6 chord. And C sharp diminished is the 7 chord. The circle means diminished, okay? These are the diatonic chords in the key of diatonic chords. It's actually the diatonic triads. Ooh, this hurts my hand. Triads in D major. All major keys have the same order of chords. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. 1 chord's major, 4 chords major, 5 chords major. So I've done this before, but just for review, 1, 4, and 5 are major chords. So the chord's built on the first note, the fourth note. That 4 is not very good there. First note, the fourth note of the scale. Okay, if we take a D major scale, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp. So the 1, 4, and 5, those are major chords. 2, 3, and 6 are minor chords. 2, 3, and 6 scale degrees produce minor triads. And the 7th degree produces a diminished triad. You don't use diminished triads in pop music. Okay. So one of the problems is when you have no chords outside the key, there are very few notes that sound good in the melody. Okay, so it's very easy to have melodies that repeat themselves, and you get these copyright suits. Okay, I'm going to switch things. AI. Let me talk about my AI video here. So my AI video, people are like, "Oh, AI is going to take over music." No, it's not. Basically, these AI programs can use existing material to produce new variations, okay? But it's basically using the same stuff. It's always going to be copies. It's always going to be something, putting together parts of other songs to create new things, right? And so my thing is like, we'll learn to create new sounds that haven't been created yet. And you're like, well, how do I do that? It's kind of like saying, one of my friends is like, I always used to say, practice what you don't know, not what you know. Well, how do I know what I don't know? And I was like, well, that's a good point. Okay, so if I were to go to here, this is in my Beato book here. These are called chords for songwriters. This is on the, so it's in the book, and these are chords. These are different triads. Now we are not even talking about seventh chords at all. These are different triads that you can use in a particular key. Okay, so you can use the primary chords or the diatonic chords that we just went through. This is in the key of C. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 4, and 5 are major, 2, 3, and 6 are minor, and 7 is diminished. But then you have these things called secondary dominant chords, and they are chords that are related to the chord right above them. Okay, so A major is a secondary dominant of the 2 chord, which is D minor. So it would be, in the key of C, it'd be C major is the 1 chord, then you go 5 of 2 to 2, and then 5 of 3, which is B major, to 3, which is E minor, then the 1 chord, but it's really, it can be the 5 of 4 to 4, 5 of 5 to 5, 5 of 6 to 6, and then your 7 chord back to your 1 chord, okay? You have your secondary dominant, then you have your secondary diminished chords, and you have your parallel chords from the natural minor scale. Then you have the parallel melodic minor chords, and you have the parallel harmonic minor chords. Now, I have actually a couple different pages of this stuff in my book, and it shows you what other possibilities for creating interesting things that haven't been done before, or things that are unusual, so that you're not just repeating things and writing songs that just sound like every other song, which is how Ed got into the trouble he got into. Now, he easily could have lost this lawsuit, and it would have been worth probably, well, the Blurred Lines, they had to pay, Pharrell and Robin Thicke had to pay $5 million, because that's basically, what that tells you is the jury awards you the money that you would have made if you were the writer on that. So they awarded Marvin Gaye's estate $5 million, and then I think that they have to pay the legal fees on top of it, which is a lot of money if you think about the legal fees for this for these lawsuits, right? So if you come up with new ideas, that's why I have these things in my book, Chords for Songwriters, meaning like, what are different things you can do? Secondary dominant chords, major 3 chords, minor 5 chords. You hear me talk about these every week. I'm talking about these different things. Ed could easily have done something completely different in this song. Yeah, would it have been a hit? Maybe could have been a hit still. But what you want to do, you don't want to just keep repeating these things, because this is what AI can do. And this is why I've been harping on things like auto-tune. Don't make things easier for computers to emulate than they already can. This is why you want to study this stuff and learn these things, improve your ear, and become a better musician. Okay. Good win. Here's one. Super J. Good win for Ed Verdict. Makes up for blurred lines. It does. It absolutely does. I 100% agree with that. It does make up for blurred lines. And I'm very happy. I think that people were like, Rick, some people said on Twitter, even though I don't really post on Twitter, I just post my videos there. But some people were like, Rick, what is your, what do you say about the lawsuit? And I didn't say anything. I was like, I'll come on and talk about it here now. And the idea, I'm kind of putting these things together with AI. AI programs basically take whatever's out there that's on the internet, any information, they feed all that stuff in, and then it generates things based on all the stuff you put into it. That's why when you've seen me with my AI pictures that I put on my thumbnails once in a while, I usually do it related to something that's topical. If I'm talking about AI, I'll put an AI picture of myself. But what do you have to do to make these AI pictures is that you have to put a picture, multiple pictures, like 12 to 15 pictures of yourself in there, and then it spits out stuff based on those pictures. If I'm going like this with one of my dumb looks like that, it'll put that in there in one of the pictures, right? Or if I have a beard on one picture, whatever, it'll put me with a beard in some of them, whatever. So it takes all this information in, and I was watching this interesting video today on deep fakes and about the guy that does the Tom Cruise deep fakes that are really amazing. And but it's ultimately, if you create new stuff, take these ideas and do something new with them. Okay, so Carmine Anastasio says, "Hi Rick, I'm a guitarist at 30 years, only played by ear. Recently bought the bundle. I wish this was around when I started." Carmine, I wish that, I wish there was the internet around when I started. It's great to be able to learn this stuff. And I say this, when I wrote my Beato book originally, I did it for my students so I wouldn't have to keep rewriting stuff over and over for them. So it was like what I just did here when I wrote out the diatonic chords in the key of D or analyzed it. I memorialized it by hand first and made a Xerox copy of the book that I used to, that my students would use. And then, 30 years later, when I started my YouTube channel, I started to do these whiteboard things, and I was like, okay, I'm going to put my book back out. And I did it first as a PDF, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to use my skills that I've made here, making videos, to actually make video content and add all the audio examples. Because the other thing about books and things like that is that a lot of books that I would buy in the early 2000s, if I were to buy something or go to the store or have students buy things like that when I was teaching, or late 90s, if it had a CD with it or something, or CD-ROM, you guys remember those, that would have examples of the music notation, how they're played. Because people can't read, and I realize that when I have stuff in here in my theory book, in my Beato book, I have things where you just click on it, it plays you the example, so you don't have to know what the rhythms are like, and it plays you what the thing sounds like. And then on guitar, if it's a guitar thing, it's tablature. But I mean, music theory is really all for any instrument. Okay, so these are the shortcuts that you get to have to learn these things. And then there's the other side of it, is like, well, how do you pick these things out by ear? How do you know a major chord from a minor chord? Well, major chord, minor chord, or D major, D minor. You can say, oh, that sounds happy. That sounds sad. It's the saddest of all keys, D minor. You begin to recognize then by hearing them more and more and more, and picking songs out by ear. This is how I did it. I would literally set the needle down on the record, and I would figure out the things. The tricky thing is when you get into single notes, right? So if I had a song when I was a kid and I wanted to learn, That's a Kansas song that was out when I first started playing guitar. And I wanted to learn it, so I put on the thing, and I was like, okay, if I have to find the first note, I would say da 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 da. Where's that? Then da da. Let's see, where would I go? Oh, it slides into the. So you used to have to pick these things out by ear. And people, when I was growing up, most people that could pick songs out had really good ears because they did this all the time. This was just a common thing. So you have to keep training your ear. You think of your ear as a muscle. You keep going over it. So there was when my son Dylan was a little kid, I was playing him this Pat Metheny song that I love that I'm going to make a video of. It's off the White album that came out in 1978, Pat Metheny Group, the first record. But it's like there's this chord at the end. It's like, and I said, Dylan, why does that sound? Dylan has perfect pitch. You guys that have been watching my channel have saw the early videos of Dylan. It's 8 years ago now. And I said, why does that chord sound so good? He's a little kid sitting in the back seat. He said, because that chord uses a B in it, and all the other chords use B flat, which was amazing because it was really like D minor, B flat, C major, things like that, A major. They were all diatonic chords, but when it went from, and I said, what is that chord? He goes, D, C, B, G. Now, Pat's doing it with a Nashville tuned guitar, but those are the notes in the order of that they happen in the chord voicing. Now, being able to pick out that voicing is tricky. So what you have to do is you have to say, okay, I hear this thing, and I know da da da. So I hear that. So I hear that half step there. Then da 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 da. So I can hear all those notes when I'm playing that. Okay, I hear that and I immediately recognize there's a half step or a minor second interval in there. Okay, so then I have to figure it out because I don't have perfect pitch. So we use relative pitch. And it's like, okay, well, what are the intervals in the chord, right? So I go here. I'll just write the chord down here so you can see. So the note, this chord is from the bottom up. The notes are D, C, B, G. Okay, and right here is a minor second, that interval there, and that minor second is very dissonant. We call that a sharp dissonance. Okay, as opposed to a soft dissonance. So sharp dissonance would be this minor second or a major seventh interval. April Wind 90. Somebody wrote 1978. Beautiful album. It is. A.Z. James. That or that. Those are called sharp dissonances. A minor seven and a major second are basically mirror intervals, and they are soft dissonances, right? Then you have thirds and you have sixths, which are mild consonances, and then you have your perfect intervals, your perfect fourth, and your perfect fifth, right? Which would be, or if I have this, so if I go from this this note to this note, D to G is a perfect fourth, P4. So these intervals are the building blocks of how you hear chords and how you hear melodies, okay? So these are the things that were used in the lawsuit, where the people can put the notes up on the staff, the musicologists, so you can say, this is what Marvin Gaye's melody did, and Ed Townsend's melody did. This is what Ed Sheeran's melody. They don't have the same rhythms, and they don't use the same pitches, and they use different intervals. But you have to kind of give a theory lesson to the people that are in the jury. And I would have said, get a discount on my Beato book you can get that, and then you can have a great ear and be able to figure out, without even me going through my closing argument, that the songs are not alike at all. The chords progressions are, but the melodies are not alike. And then you would have said they should have done that. They should have he should have used some secondary dominants or some borrowed chords. You know, if he would have used a major 3 chord or something, you know, whatever, he could have gone, right? Had he done that instead of this, if he went, then he would have gotten sued by the Hollies. And he would have gotten sued by Radiohead for Creep, and he would have gotten sued by Lana Del Rey, and that would have been that lawsuit that uses those same chords. Okay, so you have to find things. You have to be able to write melodies that are unique, and also write your backing tracks that are unique. Okay, because these AI generated copies of things are just going to scour what's already been written, and mash them all together and spit out something that, you know. So I don't do I think it's going to take the place of songwriters? No, absolutely not. Will people listen to AI music that's been completely generated by AI and not care about it? Absolutely, that's going to happen. But, you know, it's kind of like, it's people like different things. There might be AI things that I like the sound of. Okay, when I look at an AI picture of me, I put it in my thumbnail if it looks like me or whatever. And, you know, usually there's some type of humor behind it when I do it, though. Because normally, like in my thumbnail today for today's video, I used a real picture of me, not an AI picture. So I'm always thinking about these things. There is a reason for these things. But the idea of understanding what the different possibilities are to draw from, which is why I have this chapter. This is one of the chapters in my Beato book about chords for songwriters. I also have the same stuff and how to hear them in my ear training course with the hundreds of training modules that it has in it to teach you how to hear the different chord progressions. So the first time you hear them, you're going to be like, oh, I know exactly what that. Oh, I know what that is. Oh, I know what that chord progression is. Oh, I know that's a sus chord. Like, I don't have to guess what these things are. I know what they are. I don't have perfect pitch, but the relative pitch is like me saying, okay, the Marvin Gaye song is a half step above, but it uses basically the same chord progression. Instead of 1 to first inversion 1, 4, 5, it used 1, 3, minor 3, 4, 5. Okay, so, and I was able to transpose it from that's the Marvin Gaye song. And then you go, there you go, right? So I transposed, and transposing means changing the key. But you can't transpose unless you understand what the theory is, or unless on the guitar you just move it down a half step. But you have to understand what the theory is behind it to understand what transposition even means. So I transposed it down a minor second or down a half step. Okay? And these are the things I would teach you to hear in my ear training course. So click on an open another tab. Don't leave the stream right now. Click on an open tab and hit the Beato book. Go to rickbeato.com, and you know, this is a way you can support the channel and learn something yourself to improve yourself as a musician. This picture right here of the Beatles there, Abbey Road, that's not a picture. Somebody painted that. Somebody that follows my channel sent that to me. That's a painting. It looks like a photo, right? It looks like the Abbey Road photo. But it's by a British painter. And that the VW there says Beato on the license plate if you were to see it up close. But so these things are important, and it's important not to get distraught about this AI thing, because it's just go on and make music yourself and try to make it as original as possible. Experiment with your sounds. experiment with your chord progressions, experiment with your melodies. You say to yourself, oh, is this melody interesting enough? And be honest with yourself, because that's the most important thing, is to be honest with your own writing. People send me songs all the time. I have my Beato Club that I, even though there's no spaces left for the thing, the third tier of it, but people play me songs on our Zoom things, and we listen to them, and I talk about them, and I give suggestions on them. So but people should really, when it's tough to be honest about what you do as a songwriter. If I were Ed Sheeran, say, you know what? Should I use this exact groove? What do you think? Does this sound too much like the Marvin Gaye song? Yes, let's use a different groove. Okay, great. You know? So that's my thing on that. I'm going to say one more time, I'm looking for a videographer / editor to help me out here that's local or willing to move to the Atlanta area. So if you go to my website, rickbeato.com, when you're buying the Beato book or my whole Beato bundle, if you're going to want to apply for this, there's a form to fill out on there and everything, and it'll ask you, you can send samples in of your work and stuff. And but I'm just so backlogged with things. I have 5 videos, long videos, Nuno Betancourt, Daniel Lanois, that are just, I mean, to edit 4 hours of video is an enormous task. It just is. And so go there, and everybody have a great Sunday. It's been fun hanging out, and you guys are awesome. Go to beato.com, get your bundle today. We'll talk to you. Guys, have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you later this week.